In a way, wanting to create this content has helped me get back into it and get re-engaged with it, but obviously not enough to have accomplished much over the last 3 weeks. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Just another struggling writer. The beleaguered author's one-stop shop for commiseration and hopefully inspiration. My name is Carrie Scher, and I am just another struggling writer. So today is the start of another writing vlog. If you watched my last video, you know that I have been kind of taking a break from writing to deal with some stress at work and also just take a break in general from any sort of obligations that I have, as I have been home on staycation the last week. And writing was one of those things that I took a break from because, whether we like to admit it or not, it is in fact work. And I was feeling so stressed and overwhelmed from my last week before my staycation that I knew that I needed to take a break from everything in order to feel completely refreshed and recharged and ready to go back to work in all of its various forms. So this is going to be a little bit of a shorter vlog. It is now Sunday, June 9th. That being said, I do have a couple of updates from the last time I did a vlog, so I haven't been completely idle. It just hasn't been a focus. So the last thing I think we talked about was developing this aspect of my magic system that is primarily related to the senses. My magic system, if you recall, is very, very focused on the body and the way that it interacts and moves through the world. And I had kind of a prototype of this idea at the back of my mind when I first started working on this over a year ago. And I kind of left it by the wayside because it wasn't really panning out. But as I was developing things, I realized that that it should make a comeback, because it would just make the development of the plot and how things are going throughout the entire series, it would just make a little bit more sense and make it a little bit more full. So I brought it back. So as I said, this aspect of the magic system has to do with the five senses. Because I had already kind of mold that idea over, I already had 3 ideas ready to slot into those 5 senses, and I just needed to come up with 2 more. And that took longer than I would have liked. Again, between everything going on at my day job and everything, I felt really creatively stifled because I was so stressed and anxious. But eventually I did come up with 2 more, and that I could slot into this kind of system and have it make sense. So I have now a different aspect of this magic system. They're kind of like anomalies in the magic system that are then related to, again, the senses. So I finished that, and then once I was done with that, my next goal was to work out not quite a timeline, but make some decisions about what was happening behind the scenes before the story got started. That is, behind the scenes with the antagonist, like how they were going about setting up what their goals are, what was going on with my main character, what was going on with some tertiary characters. So not quite a timeline. I do think it needs to be worked into a timeline eventually, but just writing down what happened in the beginning. What was the story before the story? And so that is going to be my focus for the rest of this vlog, is taking all of the ideas I have and writing them down, and then eliminating what doesn't make sense or what could be expounded upon into a future plot point, and then working it into kind of a timeline. So I started with a side character who had something happen to her that is interesting and kind of plays into some undertones of the plot. I wrote down some ideas about how that is. And then my next step is to think about like what was going on with my main character at the beginning of the story. She's in her early 20s, but her life has been kind of turned upside down ever since she was a little girl when her father passed away from cancer. And so again, just working out that timeline, how she got to be from this girl whose whole life changed to this kind of jaded young woman who is now being sucked into this new world that she never even knew existed. And then once I'm done with her, then it's time to go into my antagonist's like monster of the week antagonist. That's like the A plot antagonist, and then the C plot antagonist as well. What they both have going on behind the scenes before the story gets started. So that is what I'm going to be working on this week. Again, I am going to be focusing on getting back to normal, and writing and reading and doing all this stuff and vlogging every single day. So yeah, I will check in with you guys tomorrow once I have another update for you. Hello everyone. It has been more than a week since I last spoke to you because I have been a very, very, very bad writer. And for the last now 3 weeks, I have done absolutely no work on my writing. That's not entirely true. I've done a little bit, which I talked about last time, but really not that much. And last week I was so focused on getting back into the swing of things at work, and then I was really into reading. I did a lot of reading last week, and I don't know what it was. I just couldn't focus on writing or much else, really. I didn't really accomplish really that much other than reading last week. And I have felt really, really shitty about it because of all the writing advice that you hear out there. One of the few things that is actually true and applicable in all situations is you don't actually accomplish writing if you're not doing any writing. And I am a proponent of believing that world building and outlining and planning and preparing to write a draft still counts as writing, but I haven't even been doing that much, to be honest with you. But the good news is today I made it a point to set everything else aside and actually focus on writing. And I opened my notebook for the first time in what felt like a long time and picked a topic for me to focus on and work on, and that's what I did. So today I actually took 2 pages of notes, and those notes were all about the history and the kind of not inner workings, but the machinations of this cult group that is going to play a central role in the entire series. And I kind of established loosely what their beliefs are, loosely what they're based on, and a kind of outline for their history, touching on some major moments that led them to the point where they are now. Then I'm pretty satisfied with that. So I worked on that. Like I said, I took 2 pages of notes working on that. And then at the very end of my little writing session today, I asked myself 3 questions. And I can't tell you what those questions are because they are spoilers, but they are questions that I need to ask myself in order to proceed with the plot. I need to know, because I could take this plot in a couple of different directions. I could guide it in a couple of different ways. So I need to think deeply about these questions, kind of in the same way that I thought really deeply about my magic system and ask myself questions about that. I need to answer these 3 questions, and that will help me determine kind of the direction or shape I want this plot, not just in the short term for this one book, but for the whole series, or at least the next couple of books afterwards. That the answering these questions will help guide, those later decisions. So I did that, and it felt really good. It felt really good to be writing again. And I think it's really easy for me to let my creative endeavors fall by the wayside when I'm stressed or when I'm short on time. But taking 3 weeks pretty much off from writing, it has left me feeling really disengaged, and like I've forgotten everything that I've already planned and forgotten what it felt like to be in this system and in this world and in this idea, and left me a little bit lacking in excitement and enjoyment of the process again. Anyway, it just was a reminder, uncomfortable as it may have been, that I need to not let writing become the thing that is deprioritized. Reading can be deprioritized, content creation can be deprioritized, stuff like that. I can take some time off from that and not really lose out on anything. But if I am not actively working on writing or thinking about my project or taking steps to advance it and get it ready to be drafted, then that is kind of a waste of time. So I need to be engaging or thinking critically about my project every single day. And that was kind of part of the point of these writing vlogs. And I will say that in a way, wanting to create this content has helped me get back into it and get re-engaged with it, but obviously not enough to have accomplished much over the last 3 weeks. That's kind of my lesson to myself for the last month is, yeah, it's fun to sit down and talk about writing. Yeah, it's fun to think about these things, but I can't treat it as I would any other hobby that I can just pick up and put down whenever I'm in the mood. If I want to be a writer, if I want to get this written, if I want to succeed, I actually have to do the work even when I don't feel like it. And I have encountered this lesson a number of times and it hasn't really ever stuck, which is, again, another reason why I am doing this project online and in front of all of you guys is I need that public accountability. I need to be told, get your butt in the chair and get back to it. So that's my soapbox to myself for the day. Tomorrow I have a plan. I think that was another thing that was really helping me before is making a plan of what I was going to work on every day. So tomorrow my plan is to do the same thing I did today with like kind of thinking about the history and the goings on, except this time I'm going to do it for the DOOR, the secret government agency. I know I did a little bit of structure work on it, breaking them down to their different like sub-departments and figuring out who was in charge of each and how they interacted with each other and what kind of their purview is. But now I want to do a little bit of a history. How did they get started? If it's a government agency, if it's a department of the federal government, they had to have been established at some point. So what presidential administration were they formed under? What is their mission statement? Like how have they stayed secret? What methods do they use to stay secret? And of course, if magic can't possibly only exist in the borders of the United States, so what about magic in other countries? How are those governments managing their magic users? And how do they have government systems? And how do those systems interact with our systems? Things like that. So I'm going to do a little bit of work on that tomorrow. I still need to do a little bit of history work on my main character. I've thought about it and I feel pretty secure. It's not super set in stone because I don't want to like lock myself into an idea and then come up with a better one later. So I've kind of got the vague outlines. I just have to put it on paper and then just do a little bit more history on some of the secondary and tertiary characters as well. But for tomorrow, I am going to, again, do a little bit of a deep dive on the history of my secret government agency. So that's my plan. And I hope that getting back into the swing of things with recording and being creative and all of that helps me stay loose and stay in the mindset of writing. And thank you guys so much for all you do and engaging with me as a writer. It has been so gratifying to see that my writing videos are actually more popular than my reading videos. So it makes me feel like this is what I should be doing. This is the content that I should be making, not only because people seem to be interested in it, but because it's actively helping me stay motivated. So again, thank you so much for watching. I will check in with you tomorrow and let you know kind of how my plan for the day went. Hello everyone, it is now Wednesday evening, and first let me apologize for all of this and all of this. I have been sick for the last 2 days, and unfortunately that has meant that I have made almost no progress in my writing since we last spoke. I have done some thinking. The last time we spoke, I mentioned that I wanted to do kind of a deep dive on the history of my secret government agency. And I have thought about how, like its origins. So I've got a kind of time period that I'm looking at when this secret government agency would have been established and a impetus for why it has been established. The specifics are not specific yet, but I did do some thinking in that regard. And in next week's vlog, I'm going to try and start getting that written down. I know under normal circumstances, I would just scrap this week's vlog and just dump everything into the next video. But I have been I don't want to go another week without posting, and I had promised myself and you guys that I would actually get one out this week. And it does bear mentioning that illness and all of that are roadblocks sometimes that writers have to face, even though there are self-imposed deadlines or real deadlines or things that we want or need to get done for our writing that are just stymied by the frail human body. And among other things, there's always going to be something that throws a wrench in your plans. I've been trying to get back on a pretty regimented schedule. That's where I thrive the most, is when I have a kind of a routine and a schedule. And of course, 2 days into it, I get thrown for a loop with being sick. But again, that's just life. We can't, and if you allow these moments to cause you to spiral, you're never going to get anything done, because the moment you climb back out of the pit and get going again, something else is going to throw you for a loop. You're going to hit a nail on the side of the road and your tire is going to blow, and then you have to worry about getting your car towed or the spare put on and a new tire. Or you're going to have a kid who gets in trouble at school, and now you have this big parenting obligation you have to take care of. Or you've got unexpected travel or other unexpected expenses, or maybe you just have things going on at work that stress you out, and then you get home and you can't fucking function. That's just life. That is the life of a aspiring writer, unfortunately. And a lot of writers who have actually been published but aren't big enough names to make a living off of it, they have to do a day job, and they have kids, and they have, all of these other obligations in addition to writing. And the key is not letting that discourage you to the point that you're quitting, at least not permanently. I've talked before on my blog about temporarily quitting, allowing yourself the mental space to say, I give up, I'm walking away, because I have found that when I've reached that point, I miss writing. I can't not be creative. I will be playing a strategy video game and writing stories about what's going on in my head. I can't not write. And allowing myself the mental space to say, I quit, just means that I'll miss it and I'll come back with renewed vigor. And so I still think that is true. If you truly need to walk away because it is causing you more anguish than it is joy, definitely take that break and definitely take that space. More to today's point is, you can't let minor hurdles like being sick for a few days completely wash away everything you want to accomplish with your writing. So that's my little soapbox. I'm sorry that there wasn't much to say in this vlog. It's just been a series of unfortunate events. But I'm going to start a new vlog tomorrow. I, in theory, will be back to my routine unless I get significantly worse overnight. Like I said, it's more, the routine is what fuels me more than being at home. I like to have structure, so I think if I am going to be back at work, that'll help me get back on the ball creatively. So thank you so much for watching. It is so appreciated. I know I didn't get as much accomplished in this video, but again, it is so appreciated that you're here and that you're supporting me. In my next video, I will have another reading vlog for you, and I hope you look forward to it, and I will see you then.